In the cold gutters of Orion Station, where hunger screams louder than sirens, a little alien girl walked into a human bar and demanded to be sold to the fattest, ugliest man alive. The crowd laughed, but when the human stood up, the galaxy changed forever. The hum of Orion Station was never quiet. It breathed like a dying beast, metallic lungs sighing through vents and engines that hadn't slept in decades. In the heart of that chaos sat Hale's bar, a crooked slice of peace built from recycled ship panels and bad memories. Ronan Hale stood behind the counter, polishing a cracked glass that had survived more wars than he had. His reflection stared back at him, a man who once commanded fleets and now served drunks. The rule was simple: no fighting in my bar. He'd said it so many times the words had worn grooves into his throat. The silence broke with a wet thud. An alien thug slammed against the counter, green blood splattering across the polished steel. His companion reached for a plasma blade. Too slow. Ronan moved like an echo of violence. A twist, a crack, a body hitting the floor. The bar went still again. "Apologies for the mess," he muttered, setting the glass down. "Next round's on the house if everyone behaves." A few nervous laughs trickled through the room. The regulars knew this dance. Ronan wasn't a hero. He was a man who'd seen too much death to be impressed by it anymore. As he bent to clean the blood, a whisper drifted from the doorway. "Please, someone help." Every head turned. A small, alien girl, silver-skinned and trembling, pushed through the crowd. Behind her, another figure stumbled, older, weaker, half-conscious. The child's voice shook but carried a strange, fierce certainty. "I need the fattest, ugliest human here," she said, her accent sharp and honest. "I want to sell myself." The room froze. The laughter died. Ronan blinked once. He'd seen slavers, soldiers, refugees, but never a child who offered herself like currency. He leaned on the bar. "Kid," he said quietly, "you picked the wrong place for that kind of deal." Tears filled her eyes, but her chin didn't tremble. "My sister is dying. Humans have food, machines, money. You must have something." The crowd watched, uneasy, unsure whether to pity her or laugh. Ronan's jaw tightened. "Everyone out," he said finally. His voice was calm, but the tone was iron. Bars closed, because for the first time in years, Ronan Hale had no idea what the right thing to do was. Ronan didn't remember walking toward the girl, only the way her sister's body felt weightless in his arms. The alien's skin shimmered faintly under the bar lights, violet fading to grey, as if her color was slipping away with her life. He laid her gently on the counter, ignoring the shocked stares. "What's her name?" he asked. "Nira," the little one whispered. "I'm Lyra, please. She hasn't eaten in days." Ronan's instincts fought each other. One part screamed, "Stay out of it." The other, the part that hadn't died completely, was already reaching under the bar for the medical pack he swore he'd never use again. He injected a vial of nutrient compound into the alien's arm. The faint hum of nanotech filled the silence. A few patrons lingered by the door, watching with the guilty curiosity of people who'd long stopped caring about anything but themselves. Lyra stood on tiptoes to see her sister's face. "Will she live?" Ronan's voice was softer now. "If she's lucky." He moved with purpose, mixing fluids, calibrating doses, like someone who'd done this 1,000 times in another life. The bar smelled faintly of antiseptic and burnt ozone. His hands didn't shake, but his heart did. When Nira finally stirred, her lips parted weakly. "Lyra!" "She's right here," Ronan said. The girl grabbed her sister's hand, tears streaking down her dusty cheeks. Nira's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, she met Ronan's gaze, and something flickered there. Recognition? Fear? He couldn't tell, but it hit like a memory he'd buried deep. "You shouldn't have helped us," Nira murmured. "People who help Velvari don't live long." Ronan gave a tired half-smile. "Lucky for you, I'm not people." Lyra frowned. "You're human." "Exactly." The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was heavy. He could feel the story they weren't telling, the hunger, the running, the loss. He'd seen that story before in too many war zones. Nira tried to sit up but winced. "We'll go. Just needed a place to rest." "Sit down," Ronan said firmly. "You're not walking anywhere until you can stand without falling." Lyra looked at him with cautious hope. "You're not going to sell us?" He sighed, grabbing a clean cloth. "Kid, the only thing I sell here is bad whiskey." 2 days passed, though the clock lights on Orion Station didn't know what time meant anymore. Nira recovered enough to walk, her strength returning in quiet fragments. Lyra never left her side, except to sweep the floors or hand out napkins to drunks who tipped her in stories instead of credits. Ronan watched them from behind the bar, pretending not to care, but he'd already rearranged his whole routine around their presence. He made sure Lyra ate breakfast before anyone else came in. He taught Nira how to reset the oxygen filters, how to spot trouble before it started. She learned fast, too fast for someone who'd never lived in the underworld before. "Why are you helping us?" Nira asked one night. Her tone wasn't gratitude, it was suspicion. Ronan didn't answer right away. "Because you remind me of someone I didn't save." Her eyes softened, but before she could ask more, the bar's entrance hissed open. Conversations died mid-sentence. A tall man stepped in, his uniform spotless, his expression carved from arrogance. Admiral Corran. Even after all these years, Ronan recognized the man's voice before his face. "Still hiding behind a counter, Hale?" Ronan's grip tightened around the glass he was polishing. "Still ruining galaxies, Admiral." The two men stared across the room, an invisible war restarting in silence. Nira froze, her color draining. She knew that voice too. It was the one from her nightmares, the one that shouted orders while her world burned. Corran's gaze swept lazily across the room until it landed on her. "Ah, so this is where the lost Velvari princess ended up. Fitting." Lyra shrank behind her sister. Ronan's voice dropped an octave. "You're not welcome here." Corran smirked. "You used to follow my orders." Funny how loyalty fades when guilt grows heavy. The room's tension thickened like smoke. Even the regulars went still, sensing something bigger than a bar fight. Corran leaned forward on the counter. "You can't run from the past forever, Ronan. And you can't hide the girl I came for." For the first time in years, the bartender's hand left the counter and found the gun beneath it. "Try me," he said. Ronan didn't sleep that night. The image of Corran's smile kept replaying in his head, a reminder that peace was never real, only rented. He cleaned the bar long after everyone left, each stroke of the cloth more violent than the last. By morning, Nira had packed what little they owned. "We should leave," she said, her voice steady, but her eyes trembling. "He'll come back." Ronan shook his head. "Running won't stop him. Men like Corran don't chase people, they hunt." Lyra peeked over the counter, her silver hair tied messily. "Then we should hide better." Ronan managed a half-smile. "Kid, I've been hiding for 10 years. Guess it's time I stopped." Hours later, the bar was quiet again. Too quiet. Ronan went to the storeroom, and when he came back, Lyra was gone. The back door hung open, metal bent inward. His chest turned cold. Nira's scream cut through the air. "Lyra!" A small holographic message flickered on the bar top. Corran's face, calm and cruel. "If you want the child alive, come to Dock 9. Alone." Nira's hands shook, fury mixing with terror. "He's going to sell her, isn't he?" "Worse," Ronan said. "He'll use her. Velvari blood can bond with human neural tech. He'll turn her into a weapon." For the first time, Nira saw what Ronan really was. Not just a man with scars, but someone who'd carried entire wars inside him. "You knew what he'd do," she whispered. "You knew because you used to be him." Ronan didn't deny it. "I was his weapon once, until I saw what that made me." She grabbed his arm. "Then make it right." He opened a panel under the counter. Inside lay weapons wrapped in dust and regret. Plasma pistols, old soldiers' armor, a blade that still hummed faintly with stored energy. As he strapped on the gear, Nira watched, torn between fear and belief. "You said you weren't people," she murmured. Ronan chambered around. "I'm not. I'm what people become when mercy fails." The lights dimmed as the bar's doors locked automatically behind them. For the first time in years, Ronan Hale wasn't keeping peace. He was declaring war. Dock 9 smelled like rust and betrayal. Dim lights flickered over rows of abandoned cargo crates, each one humming with the quiet promise of violence. Ronan moved through the shadows in old combat gear that still remembered his body. Nira followed close behind, her jaw set, her fear buried beneath anger. Lyra's voice echoed faintly from inside Corran's transport, small, scared, but defiant. "You can't make me a weapon." "I'm not a machine." Corran's laugh slithered through the air. "You're more valuable than you know, little one. The galaxy eats the weak, and I'm offering you a throne." Ronan stepped into the light. "She already has a protector." Corran turned, his smirk unbroken. "The Reaper of Orion. I wondered when you'd stop pretending to be human." "Pretending kept me alive," Ronan said. "But living isn't the same as breathing." The first shot came fast. Ronan dove sideways. Nira moved like a phantom, disabling 2 guards before they could fire. Sparks and plasma lit the dock in a storm of blue and gold. Every sound echoed like a heartbeat. Ronan reached Lyra's cage and tore the lock free. "You okay?" "I'm hungry," she whispered. He almost laughed. "Good. Means you're still you." Corran limped toward them, wounded but grinning. "You can't save everyone, Hale. That's why men like us exist, to decide who lives." Ronan lifted his weapon, but hesitated. Then Nira stepped forward, her hand steady. "You already decided for my family." She fired once. The blast was clean, final. Corran fell, disbelief frozen on his face. Silence followed, heavy, unreal. The kind that feels like the galaxy, finally exhaling. When they returned to the bar, dawn was breaking through the station windows, a soft glow cutting through smoke and ruin. Ronan sat behind the counter again, armor dented, hands trembling. Lyra climbed onto a stool beside him. "So," she said, "are we in trouble for fighting in the bar?" Ronan chuckled for the first time in years. "Kid, some rules were made to be broken." Nira leaned against the counter, exhaustion softening her eyes. "What now?" Ronan picked up a glass, the old habit returning with quiet grace. "Now we build something worth keeping." He started polishing, slow, deliberate, almost peaceful. Outside, Orion Station turned, and for once, it sounded less like a dying machine and more like a beginning. In a galaxy that measured worth in blood and power, one human proved that mercy can be deadlier than any weapon. He didn't save the universe, he just saved 2 lives. But sometimes, that's how universes begin again. And that was the story of Ronan Hale. The man who turned a dying bar into a sanctuary and a broken family into something worth fighting for. In the end, it wasn't strength that saved them. It was choice. Because even at the edge of the galaxy, humanity isn't defined by power. It's defined by who we protect.